In the news tonight, state government restates commitment towards promoting effective teaching of core subjects in rural areas. Today is International Day for Remembrance of Victims of Slavery. President Buhari receives reports on implementation of 30,000 naira national minimum wage. And on the foreign scene, US airstrike kills civilians in Afghanistan. Good evening and thanks for joining us on ABS Television News. I am Franklin Onyekachi. Now the news in details. A World Bank-assisted Anambra State Education Program investment project, ANSEPIP, has commenced a 4-day training on difficult subject areas for mathematics teachers in the state. The first phase of the program is conducted by the Pan-African Community Initiative on Education and Health, PASSIER, under the umbrella of Ministry of Basic Education. Education correspondent Theophilus Ukoha filed a report taken from here.
Declaring the workshop opened, Commissioner for Basic Education Professor Kate Omenowa said Anambra State government insists on having it right on teaching and learning of difficult subjects, helping teachers in the disadvantaged areas to be integrated into the objective of leaving no child behind. Professor Omenowa said a careful study of schools was made and came to conclusion that Otocha zone is lacking behind concerning making mastery of some core science subjects including mathematics, hence the reason the training was slated for disadvantaged areas.
Dr. Ulobiano is very passionate about demystifying mathematics for the children. He himself is a very good mathematician, and he told me that I should give him education that is very credible. And it's part of that credibility in education that we are trying to build the capacity of our teachers in mathematics. For them to go out there and know that teaching mathematics could be fun and learning mathematics could be fun.
Speaking on the occasion, Mr. Kene Enukora said drilling the teachers on how to teach students the core subject, especially mathematics, is their major focus and is optimistic that at the end of the program, the teachers must have garnered enough to impact positively on the students. Mr. Enukora, who is the project coordinator, Anambra State Education Program Investment Project, ANSEPIB, assured that at the end of the workshop, there will be reasonable improvement on mathematics teachers' approach to teaching.
Identify that this is what they want to do, to build the capacity of teachers, like the Honorable Commissioner has said. So we are supporting the state. The World Bank is assisting the state in terms of financial support, technical support.
The lead consultant, Professor Uche Amazigo, said 8 trainers to drill 28 teachers in 4 days will bring meaningful results. Responding on behalf of the teachers, Mr. Anthony Aniwatara of Community Secondary School Omueri pledged to abide by all stipulated standards of teaching.
It's a way of showing that we are serious with this program and we know that it's going to be very successful. Teachers are performing and the students are becoming better every day. And we want to say a big thank you for that. It shows that the Commissioner is working.
Present at the opening ceremony includes Permanent Secretary, Ministry of Basic Education, Mr. Nwabweze Nwankwo, Administrative Secretary, ASUBEB, Mrs. Vivian Anya Adubalo, and other directors of the ministry.
25th March every year is being observed globally as a day for the remembrance of victims of slavery and the transatlantic slave trade. The day offers opportunity to honor and remember those who suffered and died at the hands of the brutal slavery system. Staff reporter Njideka Okoye, who filed a report on the importance of the day, reports that it is a United Nations international observance designed in 2007 aimed at raising awareness on the dangers of racism and prejudice. The report.
Speaking on the importance of the day, Right Reverend Professor Anthony Nkwaka said that there is need to remember all victims of slavery while throwing light on its dangers. He noted that it has affected the African region, Nigeria, and the Igbo race in particular.
In those days, there was nothing like government. It was a jungle justice. Of course, we know that the person who brought us the gospel in Nigeria, Samuel Ajayi Crowther, was one of those people who were sold into slavery. But by God's providence, he was one of those they rescued.
For a stakeholder in Okuzu community, Mr. John Akabeze, so many talents were destroyed through slavery, noting that there are still modern ways of slavery where people take children as housemaids or servants and overlabor them, including turning some as hawkers, and called for the enactment of law prohibiting hawking and street trading by government at all levels.
Some girls, they were doing one way or the other, taken into slavery, either through prostitution or other things, or some through housemaid and run into slavery. This issue of underage hawking, because of that, they were deprived of going to school. There was deprived of so many things which would have been very beneficial to the community or to the state in general.
The principal, Anglican Girls Secondary School Ogidi, Lady Lizzie Okeke, thanked God for the abolition of slave trade in Nigeria, as according to her, its adverse effects are too numerous.
Governor Willie Obiano says his administration will effect more remarkable improvements in the education sector of the state within its remaining years. The governor was speaking during the 22nd and 38th matriculation ceremony for first degree and Nigeria Certificate in Education NCE students of the Nwafo College of Education in Sube. Correspondent Emmanuel Okonkwo was there for the ABS and now reports.
The ceremony, which was held at the institution's premises, had in attendance the matriculants, academics from within and outside the school, as well as families and friends of the newly admitted students who came to celebrate with their owns. The governor, who spoke through the Anambra State Commissioner for Tertiary and Science Education, Professor Teresa Obiekeze, said his government will continue to handle issues concerning education in the state with high sense of responsibility, as according to him, education remains the best tool for reshaping the society for good. Advising the new students to prioritize their studies over every other thing, the governor assured that government will address the infrastructural and other challenges presently facing the institution.
Having gone through your secondary skills, and you are here today to move on into the tertiary world, he said I should tell you to feel at home and to tell you that Anambra State is safe for everything that you are doing. You shouldn't be afraid of anything. The security is assured.
In his speech, the Vice Chancellor of University of Nigeria, Nsukka, Professor Benjamin Ozumba, represented by the Dean, Faculty of Education of the institution, Professor Dominic Ngwoke, encouraged the students to avoid bad company and be conscious of their behavior and dreams as future leaders, assuring them that the institution will continue to strictly adhere to the core values, which he said are built around integrity, accountability, and transparency.
Your dreams for a brighter academic future have come to fruition. The ceremony further sets the pace for such candidates to be qualified to register for their various courses of study in pursuit of their academic goals.
Earlier in her address, the Provost Nwafo College of Education in Sugwe, Dr. Ifeyinwo Sebu, charged the students to endeavor to abide by the rules and regulations guiding the school, take their studies seriously, and ensure cultism, as the college has zero tolerance for such acts.
I warmly welcome all of you to the 38th matriculation ceremony of our highly esteemed institution, the best among equals, a center of teacher education par excellence, which promotes science, arts, vocational education for prospective teachers in our state.
Some of the matriculants that spoke to the ABS, including Mr. Basil Okoloyalarun from Economics Department and his chemistry counterpart, Ms. Ogochukwu Nwadigwe, thanked God for their admission into the school and promised not to disappoint their families.
I'm very grateful to be a student of this school and to my parents who have sent me to find education or to acquire the education. I am promising them to my best ability. I will make them happy at the end.
In line with the state government's initiative to have a crime-free state, a one-day sensitization workshop on crime prevention has been organized for the people of Oyelebu village, Okija, in Ihiala local government area. The workshop, which was organized by the Crime Prevention Campaign of Nigeria, CPCN, Anambra State Chapter, was held at Obiadiaso's compound, Okija. Correspondent Emengini Osadebe filed the report taken from here.
Crime Prevention Campaign saw the official declaration of some Okija indigents who have been in the forefront of ensuring that the lives and property of Okija people are secured. In a welcome address, the Director, Crime Prevention Campaign of Nigeria, Anambra State Chapter, Honorable Chukwuemeka Mmadubueze, said the CPCN is a security support service organization committee supporting and working in collaboration with the Nigerian Police Force and other security agencies to bring about a crime-free society through intelligence gathering and crime sensitization programs. Honorable Mmadubueze, who traced the history of the organization to 1996, said the aim was to have crime prevention and community policing institutions in the country.
We are here to sensitize some members of Okija community, honor and correct some of the illustrious sons of Okija community in the persons of Chief Jerome E. Obidiaso, Barrister Felix Ugumadu, Chief Epunam Peter Celestin, Chief Anohu, as I mentioned before, show you them, and Chief Angus.
In his lecture, the Area Commander, Nigeria Police Force, Ihiala Area Command, who was represented by his second-in-command, CSP Uchenna Aniowo, stated that crime cannot be prevented without information gathering and dissemination, describing crime prevention as proactive measure that brings about community policing, as it is the duty of every community to feed the police with reliable information to help fight crime and criminality in their areas.
Crime rate here is very, very low due to the effort of police and other sister agencies. We are getting cooperation. Even like today, they pointed out some of the issues that have been making them not to cooperate with police in the area of giving out information.
On his part, the Unit Commander, Federal Road Safety Corps, Ihiala Unit Command, Assistant Corps Commander Danladi Idris, re-emphasized that reckless driving and invalid driver's licenses are crimes to the society, emphasizing the need to give the FRSC every necessary support for accident-free roads.
There are some security features embedded in the driver's license that tend to assist us in the prevention of crime. One, as a valid driver's license owner, definitely we expect that you must be a good citizen of Nigeria.
Question and answer series formed the high point of the workshop, while some illustrious sons of the community were decorated as members of the organization for their efforts towards achieving a crime-free Okija. In their responses, the recipients, High Chief Jerome Obidiaso, Barrister Felix Ugumadu, and Chief Peter Epunam, pledged to sustain the temple, adding that security is the sole responsibility of everyone for the good of their community.
President Muhammadu Buhari has received the report of the Technical Advisory Committee on the implementation of the new national minimum wage at the Presidential Villa, Abuja. President Buhari had on January 9 inaugurated the advisory committee chaired by an economist and financial expert, Mr. Bismarck Rewane, where he reiterated his commitment to an upward review of the minimum wage. The president had on December 19, 2018, while presenting the 2019 appropriation bill at the joint session of the National Assembly, announced his intention to constitute the committee. He said the committee will recommend modalities for the implementation of the new minimum wage in such a manner as to minimize its inflationary impact, as well as ensure that its introduction does not lead to job losses. And on the foreign scene, at least 13 civilians, mostly children, were killed by a U.S. airstrike in the northern Afghan city of Kunduz, the United Nations said today. The airstrike was part of a battle between the Taliban and the combined Afghan and U.S. forces that lasted about 30 hours in Kunduz, a Taliban stronghold. The deaths come as ordinary Afghans continue to bear the brunt of the conflict, with more civilians killed in the Afghan war in 2018 than during any other year on record, according to a UN report, with more than 500 killed by area operations for the first time on record. Child casualties from airstrikes have also increased every year since 2014. And now sports. Emma Okocha, elder brother to Super Eagles legend Austin J.J. Okocha, has sent a message to General Rowe saying that Chelsea legend John Obi Mikel remains relevant to the national team due to the quality he brings to the team. The national team has toiled to produce satisfactory chemistry in the middle of the park in the absence of the mercurial midfielder, and the former Super Eagles star yearned to see him return quickly in the team before the tournament proper. He went ahead to compare him with current Ballon d'Or holder Luka Modric, whom he faced at the 2018 World Cup in Russia, and lauded his efforts to match up with the Real Madrid star and the Argentine midfielders. And family members, friends, and well-wishers over the weekend converged on Emmanuel Anglican Church, Obuako, in Imbito local government area of Imo State, to pay their last respect to late Mrs. Esther Ogala. Late Mrs. Chinenyenwa, aged 82, was the mother-in-law of the Anglican Bishop of Oka Diocese, the Right Reverend Alexander Ibezim. Correspondent Amaka Chibuzo-Koye covered the burial ceremony and now reports.
The burial service attracted priests across the country, including the Archbishop, Metropolitan and Primate of all Nigeria, Most Reverend Dr. Nicholas Oko, other archbishops, bishops, members of the clergy from different religious denominations, among others, who came to witness the burial ceremony. In a sermon, the primate, Most Reverend Dr. Oko, said, "Death is a necessary end for all mortals," stressing the importance of being prepared at all times, as no one knows the hour. Most Reverend Dr. Oko stated that Christ has conquered death, and those who slept in the Lord would live eternally, describing the deceased as a hard-working woman who diligently ran her race and raised godly children, advising them to uphold her legacies.
That you have grown up, you've been introduced to the faith, you have accepted it, you have appropriated it, and it has transformed your life. The life you now live is the life of Jesus, who gave his own life for you.
Governor Willie Obiano, represented by the Secretary to the State Government, Professor Solochukwu Lobelo, in a condolence message, said there is no limit to the pains occasioned to death, especially when it involves loved ones, urging the children of the deceased to take solace in the fact that their mother lived a worthy life. Speaking shortly after the interment, the Anglican Bishop of Oka Diocese, Right Reverend Alexander Ibezim, who is the son-in-law of late Mrs. Uhala, thanked God who brought the two families together, stating that the deceased had been an encouragement and a source of inspiration to his family, especially during their early married life, and described her as unassuming, humble, and diligent, even as he commended her unfailing love for God.
Very lucky to marry one of her daughters because from the virtues of my wife, you will see a reflection of Mama. You know, a mother, caring and very humble.
The wife of the bishop, Mrs. Mata Ibezim, said her mother was a vicious woman who taught them that success comes through honest labor with diligence and responsibility, lamenting that the vacuum her death created will be difficult to fill.
She's a woman that really served God in her lifetime, and you know, a loving mother, a caring mother, a generous mother, and very hardworking.
Other children of the deceased, including Mr. Ben Uhala and evangelist Mrs. Ngozi Abo, said their mother will be remembered for her hard work, sacrifice, resilience, and dedication to the things of God. The Archbishop of Enugu Province, Most Reverend Emmanuel Chukwuma, prayed for the family, while his diocese on the Niger Province counterpart, Most Reverend Professor Godwin Okpala, represented by Bishop of Agwata Diocese, Right Reverend Samuel Ezofo, did the exhortations, Chorus from Cathedral Church of St. Faith, Oka Choir, featured at the event. As well as condolence visits by in-laws, friends, family, and well-wishers. From Obako, Mbitolu local government area of Imo State, Amaka Chibuzo Okoye, ABS News.
And that is where we conclude tonight's bulletin. But remember that you can follow news and programs on ABS from any part of the world by logging on to our website at www.absradiotv.com. Like us on Facebook at www.facebook.com/ABSRadioTV. Follow us on Twitter and Instagram at ABSRadioTV. And now to end the news, another look at the top stories. State government has restated commitment towards promoting effective teaching of core subjects in rural areas. Today is International Day for Remembrance of Victims of Slavery. President Buhari has received a report on implementation of 30,000 naira national minimum wage. And on the foreign scene, we told you that U.S. airstrike has killed civilians in Afghanistan. And that's the news. Thanks for watching. Good night and do have a pleasant night rest. I am Franklin Onyekachi.